Welcome, welcome to 1 Million Cups. So glad to have you as a part today. So tell me, who's here for the very first time? So glad to have you here. Who here would consider themselves entrepreneurs? Awesome. Well, we are all about building the entrepreneurial community here at 1 Million Cups, and so glad that you're a part. So if you will, notice we have our organizers, Philip Baird, Craig Jameson, myself, Jonathan Putnam, and LaDonna Greiner. If you get a chance, please introduce yourselves. Tell us about yourselves. We'd love to hear more about you. Also, we are so glad to have our sponsors as a part. We have Springfield Art Museum, just an incredible resource. They allow us to come in every week. Thank you so much. And we have Nick Nelson with us today, who's the director. Glad to have him in. We also have Brick and Mortar Coffee. They donate coffee every week, and they have for 2 years now. Really glad to have them as a part. We have Database. They are the Apple premier sponsor here in Springfield. They bring their computers in every week so that we can register or you can apply to present. We also have Spark Events. They take care of our AV, our video, our sound. They take care of the uplights. Just an incredible resource. If you have an event that you need help with, they will do an incredible job for you. And then we have the Spirit Factory. They donate any of our shirts, t-shirts, anything along those lines. Glad to have them as a part. And moving forward, if you will, make sure you tweet, connect with us by email, and on the side there, if you will tweet as well. And today we are excited to have Fitbit and Abacus CPAs presenting. And I actually have been a part of Abacus CPAs since January. I became aware of them about 1.5 years ago, and from the very beginning was completely impressed with their culture. And as I have grown with the company, I realized that the Colby assessment is a huge part of what they do. So I would like to introduce Adrienne McCoy.
Good morning, everybody. Thank you for having me today. As Jennifer said, I have been doing Colby with Abacus CPAs now for 3 years. It's not my full-time job, but it is one of my passions. The Colby system a lot of times gets lumped in with personality tests. So today what I want to do is take my normally 3-hour-long presentation and do it in 10 minutes. So I'm going to talk really fast, and I'm going to skip a lot of the details. And I did want to say now, and I'm happy to talk to anyone afterwards, we do quarterly seminars, completely complimentary for anyone in the community that's interested in learning more about their Colby or how we can use it as a team. So the very first thing, like I said, is I want to clarify what we're talking about when we're talking about Colby. How many of you have done personality tests? Right? We all have? Okay, so everything that you know about personality tests, get that out of your head for just a minute because this is not a personality test. Although personality is very important. When we talk about hiring, we're obviously looking, can the person do the job, right? Do we like them? Do they want to do the job? But so often what we do is we forget or we're not paying attention to, is it most natural for them to do this job? Do they have the instincts to do this job and do it well with little stress? Stress is the #1 factor in turnover, right? So even if they like the company and they know how to do the job, if we're putting them in a position that they're constantly having to work against their instincts, we're going to cause stress. And unfortunately, then a lot of times we're going to have turnover. So what I want to point out to you guys on this slide, and really this is probably the slide in my 3-hour presentation I come back to about 20 times because it is so important in this idea of understanding what someone's natural instincts are. The Colby system says that there are 3 different parts of your mind, okay? There's your IQ. We all know about your IQ, right? We can test this. You can take your ACT score, or your GPA, or the classes that you took, the school that you went to, and we can really easily see on a resume, do they have the IQ and skills to actually complete the job, to do it well? Do they understand it? And then obviously when we interview people, we're saying, are they motivated to do this job? Do they like it? Do we share values? Do they have a good attitude about the position? These 2 things are very important. Obviously, they're the ones we focus on all the time, right? What Colby is saying is that there's this 3rd part that we need to start focusing on as well. Your Colby is your natural instincts it's what your drive is, it's what your talents, your natural talents are driving you to do, okay? It's where your mental energy most naturally focuses. So while we're looking at these two, we need to start focusing on this one as well. The Colby assessment tells us, after about a 30-minute long assessment, what the person's most natural instincts are. So for example, in a hiring situation, I'm gonna get 100 resumes for a position, and I'm gonna look through and pick out my top 20 of the people that I wanna meet, okay? The top 20 that have the skills based on job experience or education, whatever that might be. Then I interview them, I interview my top 20, and I say, okay, there's 5 people who are really motivated to do this job, who I think would like the job, who believe in our culture and our values. And then I only do the Colby on a couple people, okay? And what I wanna see there is the position that we have set up for them going to fit their natural instincts, all right? So what the Colby shows us is these 4 different areas and where they fall in these areas. One of the things I love about Colby is that it's all strengths, okay? So what we're finding out about someone is on their red line, the far left, it's a fact finder. It's your instinctual need for details when it comes to gathering or sharing information. So, does this person have an instinctual need to simplify the details or to get very specific in the details and everywhere in between? We have a need for all of this in our organization, right? But if you ask someone, you put someone in a position where they need to get very detailed and when they're gathering and sharing information, and their Colby is a 1 or a 2, so naturally they simplify details, you're instantly putting them in a stressful position. You're asking them to work against their natural instincts, okay? The blue line, your follow-through, is your instinctual need to pattern when it comes to arranging and designing. So your instincts say to adapt the pattern that's out there or that the system is very important. Again, if you're asking somebody to put everything in order and organize everything and put the details in their place and to come up with the model and to come up with the process, but they adapt processes regularly and that's what's most natural to them, then you're going to have them in a stressful position. The other way around, if you ask someone to never have a process and bounce around from thing to thing, and their natural instincts are to put everything in a system, you're demanding them to work outside of their natural instincts, therefore causing stress for them in the workplace. The quick start is your instinctual need to experiment, okay? So we talk about stabilizing that risk and uncertainty. Do you have that instinctual need to stabilize risk, or do you have an instinctual need to improvise? When it comes to an experiment, would you rather just try it and see how it goes, or do you want to stabilize all risk involved before you try it? Again, if you're asking someone to work against their natural instincts, you're going to cause stress there. And then the last section is the implementer, and this is that instinctual need to build when it comes to space and tangibles. So do you naturally just imagine how something is built, imagine how it feels, or do you have an instinctual need to really be hands-on and to touch it, okay? So when we look at all of these, and we take that assessment, and we find out that you're an 8-8-2-2, so 8-8 and then 2-2 up here, we see that what's most natural to you is that you like to put systems in place. You need to have time to research before you give an answer. You don't want to give an answer off the top of your head, and you'd rather just talk about it than have to build a model yourself. So if we put you in a position that's opposite of that, we're instantly causing stress. Doesn't mean you can't be great at your position. I'm not here to tell you guys that you can or can't do something, okay? All Colby's saying is that if you have the IQ and you know how to do your job, the skills to do your job, you have the desire and attitude to do your job well, and it fits your most natural instincts, you're going to be more successful because you'll have less stress in the workplace. So, there's a couple different levels to Colby. This is the Colby A is what I'm talking about right now, and that's just what your natural instincts are. The Colby B is something you can take for your position to say what's most natural, what's needed in this position to be successful. So if you feel a lot of stress in your current position, if you're an entrepreneur on your own starting this business and you feel stress in certain areas, You take the Colby B to figure out exactly what those areas are, and then we hire someone with the Colby A to fill those spots. You can also take the Colby C to say, all right, I'm going to hire my another associate, and this is what I feel is necessary to be successful in the position. And then again, we hire based on the Colby A fitting. Something else, just to throw out there, and then I think I'm probably getting pretty close on my time, or over, sorry, is that these two areas will change over time, okay? They're not something that, you're not born with the IQ that you have today, all right? Colby says that this will not change over time. They've done millions of case studies, and 97% of the retakes come back with the same number or within that same section by one. And of the ones that change, 99% only change by that one number, okay? So your Colby that you take now is the same Colby if you had taken it in high school or you take it 30 years from now. So when we learn this about somebody, we know that it will stay the same as these other areas grow.
Thank you, Adrienne.
Yeah.
Great job. And for those of you that haven't been here before, we have two panelists that kick off our questions for the question and answer session. And this morning we have Nick Nelson from the Springfield Art Museum and Austin Butcher from Pocket Secretary. So Nick, would you start off with a question, please?
Yeah, thank you so much for being here and presenting. You talk about this system in the context of hiring. Can you talk a little bit about it with existing employees and in the context of team building? Because it seems like a very powerful tool for that as well.
Yeah, absolutely. So kind of a two-part question there in team building. A lot of times we want to hire someone who's just like us, right? Because they've got the same personality as us, they've got the same IQ as us, we like to do the same things. But when we start to surround ourselves in a team that's all high fact finders, then we've got nobody to help us simplify that employee handbook or the processes that we have out there. If we have all high follow-throughs, then we've got nobody to help us adapt the systems and understand that there's new ways to do it. Or if you have someone that's a whole team of low follow-throughs, then you've got nobody to put those processes in place. So obviously, this is something that we know. We should diversify our teams. We know that. It's still hard to do because we want to hire the people that we like. But what Colby can show us is really where those spots are that need to be filled when we start team building. So we can actually do analysis on your entire team and see the areas that maybe don't have as many strengths. You don't have as many employees with strengths in this area. And then when we're filling certain positions, we can look for those things. Your other part of the question in hiring or doing this on a current team, what I've found with a lot of the clients that I work with on this is that you might have two analysts, okay? We'll just say two analysts, and they both have the IQ to do their job, and they both love the company, but they both have stress in their position, and they're doing the exact same thing. Well, you might find out through Colby they've got different Colbys, and that you can switch up their position. Well, why are you doing this and you're doing this when we could switch a couple things and make that position a lot more a right fit for you? I do the HR for our firm, and our controller does obviously some of the HR for our firm as well, and we've got opposite Colbys. So instead of me trying to protect my work and her protecting her work, we can work together and say, okay, this really fits your Colby better and this really fits your Colby better, and we share our work then and share that team space. I find that a lot when you have multiple people doing one job. The tendency is, oh, they're good at it, so let's keep everybody, make sure everybody's the exact same, let's just clone you 8 times. But then we're always doing the exact same thing, and we're never making changes, and we're not diversifying that. So by doing the Colby A amongst that group, you can really start to diversify that group. Does that
Okay, Austin,
answer?
and
Okay.
while Austin's asking his question, please raise your hand and Nick will bring you a mic if you have a question out there. But please, Austin.
I would like to know if there's ever been anything else like this out there, and then your marketing strategy for spreading the word about it.
Sure. There are 1 million tests that do the personality and obviously the IQ. Kathy Colby, who created the Colby Corps 30 years ago is actually the daughter of E.F. Wunderlich, who had the Wunderlich test, if anyone's familiar. They still use it in the NBA and NFL. So she kind of grew up in this household of that right fit test, but her dad always said that there was something missing. And so she kind of took it on as her mission to figure out what that thing is that's missing, and believes that the conative, what your Colby is testing, is that thing that's missing. As far as I'm aware, there is not anything else that does test that, that conative part of your brain. Colby probably knows a little better than I do. I'm just one of their consultants, so I could ask on that to be sure. So yeah, it's the only one that I know of, and it's been verified by American Psychological Association. You can use it in the hiring process because it's 100% unbiased, which the IQ and personality tests do have bias because of where you were born, how you were raised. But because your Colby is something that's natural inside of you that you're born with, that twins who grew up in the exact same family with the exact same lifestyle could have completely different Colbys. So it's measuring something just so different. I will say too that we do use strength finders at our firm because we do feel like that personality is important. Even though I live and breathe Colby, it's not the only thing, and we recognize that those other two parts of the brain are equally important. My marketing strategy has really just been word of mouth. This isn't, like I said, my full-time job, it's my passion. Our managing partner learned about Colby about 15 years ago, and so started doing it within his firm. And then as our clients, we're a CPA firm, as our clients started to hear more about Colby or seeing kind of how it worked at our firm, they said, hey, I'm kind of interested in that. What is it? What is it? So the woman who was in my position prior to me actually flew out to Phoenix, went through the whole certification program, brought it back to the firm, and they realized really how in-depth we could go with Colby and really how we could set up our whole culture based on this idea. And so when I started with the firm 3.5 years ago, it was a requirement of the position. So I do the quarterly seminars. Really, it started out with clients, but then we had so many people in the community saying, what is it that you're doing? What is it that you're doing? So yeah, quarterly I do a free seminar. We have lunch. You get to do your Colby seminar, or your Colby. We go through your results and talk as a group. There's usually about 10 to 12, so it's a pretty intimate group. You really get to understand your own. And then a lot of times the clients who come, or the people who come to that, then want to bring it into their organizations. And so if it was my full-time job, I'd probably have a different marketing strategy, but I'm kind of like, if you want it, I'll come. If not, that's fine. because I do so many other things for our firm.
Thank you, Adrienne, and thank you, Nick and Austin. Before we go to our questions, I did want to explain something to you. You probably noticed that Adrienne's presentation is not a startup, and she's not really an entrepreneur.
No.
So to explain why we invited Adrienne, throughout the year, we're going to invite educational presenters now and then to present things that we think that you would find useful as entrepreneurs and as business people. So that is why we invited Adrienne. We're going to give them a little more time each time they come to share what they do and how it might help you. So I just wanted to offer that as an explanation as to why we've kind of departed from the norm this morning with Adrienne's presentation. And now, Steve, I believe you have a question.
A little bit of a question and a comment, because my career was as a project engineer for doing research and development of advanced technology. And the map you have there is really true in building a project. And I do a brief called the entry-level engineer. And the first thing I tell the entry-level engineer when you get your first job is take an inventory, know what your strengths are, look about you, know the people around you and what you think they're good at. And when you build project teams, it comes to the point where you got to have people, and I like teams that had people with no experience and highly experienced. You have to have a blend of both, because the older people get biases in the way that they do business. And this is very important to know. And so you have to have a balance across that entire map of your project and your business. And that's where entrepreneurs fail most of the time, is they get focused on what they do good and they forget about the rest of the details that have to be taken care of. And so when you're building your business plan, you have to look at that map and do an inventory and see, what am I good at and where do I need to fill the holes in my business? And I will stop there just to let other people have.
I would agree with you completely, and I think one of my favorite things about the Colby, if nothing else, is that you can sit across from your coworker and go, oh, you're not doing that just to drive me crazy because you know I like it a different way. You're doing it because it's most natural to you. And so a lot of those frustrations in the workplace, me personally, that I've had with people, instead of being like, oh my gosh, they're just trying to drive me nuts, it's like, no, that's most natural to them. This is a good thing. And yeah, if we take a young person who understands what their strengths are and an experienced person who understands what their strengths are, and they'll listen to each other and appreciate the difference, that's the biggest thing, then we can really make the stronger teams. I agree.
So can anybody see how this might relate in a marriage?
Yeah. Yeah. Most every person who comes to my seminar says, can my spouse please come to this,
I was
please?
one of those.
And yes, you can. Your spouse can come. It's probably best if you come together so that I can tell you why you're different and not having to listen to it. Yeah.
Right. Shannon, you have a question?
Yeah, so you've kind of touched on the beginning of my question. How long ago was Colby developed, and what was a little bit initially why it was started, but specifically it was developed for employment in the workplace, or was it specifically developed for something else? And then the other part of that is, what do you think about the application of this for students going into college and the high school student, and how that can affect their career choices?
Yeah, thank you for asking that question. That's perfect. So yeah, E.F. Wunderlich's test was a right fit test, and he believed he was looking at IQ and personality together. And he would get it right. Okay, you've got the right personality, the values, the motivation, and you've got the education. And they'd get in a job, and there were still some people that were failing. And so really it did start in that business area. What is that missing piece? And that's why Kathy started. Colby Core itself was developed, was I believe official in 1985. So it's been around a while. They are from the Phoenix area, and so it's very popular on the West Coast and in that area of the world. You probably have not heard of it, or many people have not heard of it in this area. Last I checked, I was, I think, the only certified consultant in the state that is still active. So you're not going to hear about it as much here in this area unless you heard it from me or many of the people who've gone to my seminar. As far as the application goes, they actually started to see pretty quickly how, yes, it's really great for businesses, but in the education system is where they were seeing a lot of these holes. And that if you look here, if you think about our education system, we're telling students that they have to study and learn every single detail. They have to put every single thing in its place, in its proper order, right? In your research paper, you had to do the table of contents first, and then you had to do the appendix, right? You have to do that in a certain order. You're stabilizing all the risk by studying every single thing and knowing every answer, and then we've got no ability to run around, to move, to stand up, to build things ourselves. It's just that reading. So you get a student who likes to simplify the facts, doesn't see a need to get very detailed. You get and doesn't really see the need to put everything in a certain order. They want to do it in whatever order seems most natural to them. They want to take risks and improvise and experiment. And what do? We call them ADD, right? So the state of Kansas actually adopted, their education system adopted the Colby system and tested it out across the state, I believe, with their teachers and students, and understanding that even though it's most natural for us to teach it in this order, that not every student's going to see it that way. So Colby's, I want to say about 2 or 3 years ago, spun off a separate company that solely focuses now on the education system and works with schools and universities to get their teachers and their students to understand what is most natural for them and teach in different ways. On a side note, the woman who was in my position previously had been a teacher when she came to work for us and went back to teaching. And she said that in her first, so she was with us for about 10 years and then went back to teaching. And I was talking to her about how has the Colby system changed how you teach, and she goes, oh my gosh, it's light years different now that I know. I had a student that sat in the back row and never paid attention and was always fidgeting around, and it didn't bother me as much because I understood that they were probably just having a hard time sitting still. She said, and then this student actually stood up in the back of the class with her book and did her notes standing and kind of paced the back of the room. She goes, I never would have allowed that when I was teaching before. But now I understand that this person has this natural instinct to get up and move around and to build. And I was stressing them out, asking them to sit that long. For that person, maybe the student next to him was just fine, but for that person it was too stressful, and so she allowed it to do them as long as that student wasn't disrupting the class. And that student's grades were great in the class, whereas at the end of the semester, whereas had she forced that same student to sit through the entire thing, they might not have had great grades because of the stress level that they would have been feeling. You think about studying, you tell your two teenagers, go study your math for the next 3 hours. Well, if you have a student who doesn't like systems and doing things in order or doing one thing from start to finish, and you're telling them they have to study math for 3 hours straight, you're forcing them in a stressful environment. If you tell that same student that they can study their math for 15 minutes and their history and then take a break and then go to spelling and then go back to math, and you fit their study requirements within what their Colby, what their natural instincts are, hopefully you have better results.
Awesome. Thank you very much for doing this. And I'd like to say thank you for having the 1MC team participate in this. It was extremely beneficial to us, and I know we learned a lot. So when is the next one? What's the price? And how does one sign up?
Yeah, thank you. You guys are great at asking questions and sets me up perfectly. August 30th at Abacus CPAs, we will be doing another seminar. It's from 10 to 1. We come in, you will do your assessment before you come. I'll send that to you. It is of no charge when you come to the assessment. I feed you at noon, and then we usually eat together as a group and spend that last 30 minutes or so asking questions and talking about it. So really the first 2 hours is pretty in-depth understanding your Colby results and then how you could use it as a team. The price for Colby normally, if you go online to Colby right now, or when you get home because you want to see what your assessment results are, it's going to be $50 to take the assessment. That's the cost to do it online. That's the cost to do it with me. When I work with clients, it's that same cost. And then there's a lot of consulting that goes on with it as well. So it might be $50 for some of your team, and then we do consulting with a certain group. I always suggest getting your management team to buy in first. That's great if you want me to do it for 200 people in your organization, but unless the top group, unless your managers buy into it and really understand it, then it's a waste of your money. I'll take it, but it's a waste of your money to do it for the whole organization. So get your management team to buy in first. So come to the seminar, see if you even like it, then bring your management team in. We'll assess the management teams, do some team building things, do some assessments on your teams, see where those holes are, and then if you really want to, we can take it to that next level with the whole organization.
Thanks, Adrienne.
Yes, thank you.
Thanks so much. Thank you all for being here this morning. We have another presentation in just a minute, but we're going to go through announcements. And one thing I did want to mention, I wanted to remind everyone that the Art Museum is open at 10. And so if you want to stay and go to the Art Museum afterwards, you're welcome to. But they ask that we not use this door over here or go down the halls until after 10 a.m. So for that reason, this door is locked, so you'll need to use this one to exit. Now, let's talk about announcements. Maybe. There we go. And we have Refine M. Is NK here this morning? Okay, I would ask you I'm not going to read these to you, but if you're interested in this, take a picture of the screen. I'll leave it up for a few minutes. And if there's a representative for the announcement, I'll ask them to stand so that you can contact them afterwards. So they have some things going on, events. So does Missouri State. Is anybody here from the Small Business and Technology Development Group? Okay. Give you a few minutes if you want to take a shot of that. And we have a new one here. Springfield Real Estate Investment Group is going to present the Wealthy Code. Anyone here representing that group? All right. And I know that Deb's here. Deb, stand up. Yes, so Deb works real hard on OSTEAM, and if you have any questions, please see her, and I know she'd love to have you get involved. And every week we have this meeting here at 9 o'clock every morning at the Art Museum. If you have an announcement, please send it to us with 2 or 3 bullet points, and we will add it to the list. You can also find us at 1 Million Cups Spring SGF on social media and hashtag, and if you would like to be a presenter, please go ahead and fill out an application, even if it's off into the future. Let us know approximately when you would like to present, and go ahead and get that application in, because we are always looking for new presenters. The qualifications are that you've been in business for less than 5 years, and that you can go out. We like to see businesses that can replicate themselves outside of Springfield, but that's not a requirement. We would love to have you at any stage of your business in that 1 to 5 year time frame. And now we have a new presenter. Let me see, one more time, okay. Okay. We have Joe Lobach and Gabe Simmons from Technology Mobilize, and they're going to talk to us about their app, Fitface, today. Thank you. Please welcome them.
From Chicago. I actually went to Mizzou for international business before switching majors like everybody else, and went back home and starting studying some computer science. This is my business partner, Gabe Simmons.
I also switched majors to computer engineering, actually. When I found a passion for technology, I then started getting into some programming, and I found a really huge interest in app development. So I soon approached Joe with more than an idea, but a vision. And so how it started, one day we were at work at Biaggi's, and a friend came up to us and asked us if we could play racquetball with him on Saturday. Fortunately, we couldn't go. We both had to work, and he had absolutely nobody to go with, and he wasn't able to go. And he was just so disappointed. And right then and there is when we knew what we had to do. So we got off work, and we started working on what we now call
Fitface Social Network, the answer to getting fit and staying healthy. Now, the top 3 reasons why people don't work out is they don't have time, they don't have energy, or they don't want to commit. So why do you need Fitface? What would you use it for? Well, nowadays, scheduling is hard. People are busy, especially when you already don't want to work out. Let's say you don't have a workout partner, or worse, you did have a workout partner and they flaked on you, so now you're just sitting on the couch in your running clothes watching TV. Let's say you're in a new city. You don't know anything around you. You don't know anybody there. Let's say you're in your city and you just want to explore some new underground place out there in the wild.
Exactly. So back to the original story. How do you find somebody to play racquetball with? In this on-demand economy, there's on-demand everything. There's movies, magazines, there's music, even driving, there's Uber. There's no on-demand fitness yet. Fitface becomes a solution by helping you match to a fitness partner and help you stay committed. It also saves you time by matching you to the right fitness partner in a similar fashion as Tinder. So if you're a 5K runner, it would match you somebody that likes to run. If you like to bench press, it would match you somebody that likes to bench press. Being able to schedule meetups ahead of time will help you. Being able to schedule meetups will help you find time ahead of time. And having an accountability partner will help you stay committed and keep working out when you don't want to. And actually, the more you work out, the more energy you will have to keep working out.
So why do you need Fitface? Is because you're going to be matching with people that are actively looking to do the same thing as you. So there's no more dragging your friends, no more worrying about canceled plans. Okay, so now you're on the app, you're on Fitface, you're using it, you're looking for a partner. What happens next? What do you actually do?
So initially, you'll get a match according to gyms and outdoor places. Besides that, you can also add other categories to get matched by, like types of workouts or sports. People will be able to create, organize, and run their own events, such as a soccer game, an obstacle course race, a Spartan race. Also, people will be able to, so they'll be able to organize events. So why do you need Fitface? Because you'll find yourself in places you've never been before, doing things you never thought you would do. Speaking of events, events are social, and one-man wolf packs are not. So how do we motivate them? Motivation is a very powerful tool. It could predict success more than ability, salary, or even intelligence.
So Fitface will have a section titled Motivation. This is a place people can go to read users' personal fitness journals. They can read through their struggles. They can look at before and after pictures of real people, or they can read professionally written articles concerning the psychological impact of motivation and how to achieve it. There will be an achievement section with emphasis on progress. Nothing is more motivating than progress. In fact, Time magazine calls this the progress principle. Of all the positive events that influence the inner work life, the single most powerful is progress in meaningful work, in this case, fitness. Of all the negative events, it's the opposite of progress, which are setbacks. So think of how hard it is to get back into the gym when you haven't been there in a year. Fitface users can and will share a story. They will share a belief, what creates unity and morale stories. And it is in this way that users will come together in sort of a cult-like manner. In the same way that CrossFit members are all friends with CrossFit members, people driving Jeeps, they all wave at people driving Jeeps because that's a Jeep thing. Well, this is a Fitface thing.
So beyond year one, we plan to evolve Fitface into an advertising network for the health and fitness community for things such as gyms, personal trainers, supplements, equipment, anything and everything fitness related. But at its core, Fitface is a matchmaking app that will help you find people interested in sports, health, and fitness. Our app upgrades include database of nutrition plans and workout routines. You'll be able to issue out challenges to other users to add on to the commitment factor. And then also my favorite, you can upload your own music to the music playlist, or I'm not sorry, to the music player, and you can listen to the same song at the same time with somebody else. And it's all of that for 99 cents a year.
So there are a lot of fitness apps out there. Most that we have found simply track one thing or another, or they'll count this, or they'll show a workout video of that. In our case, Friender matches people based on very general interests, like going to the gym, going to get ice cream, or going on a date. And Well Squad, which matches users to users based on fitness goals, groups these users together, assigns that group a leader who dictates the workout that they do. Friender has no focus. It's way too general. Well Squad is too confusing, and there's no indication of a mobile application. So the market that we are entering has 25.7 million prospects composed of very specific target markets that we ourselves have researched. In fact, we're a part of them, 23, 24, male, we work part-time, we're both into fitness. So we know that there's an actual need for something like this. Now, social networking is the future. This isn't new information. Everybody's jumping on board. Twitter's fastest growing demographic is 55 to 64. Facebook and Google is 45 to 55. And one of our target markets are people over the age of 40. So there are 189 million Facebook users that are mobile only. So what creates a successful social network? There's a social login, there's user profiles, there's a notification feed, there's a story feed, there's outbound sharing, there's inviting friends. Fitface will have all of this neatly organized into one fitness application.
So when meeting up in real life, security becomes a concern. So you'll be able to block users, you'll be able to match with the same sex only. We'll have a flagging system in place for people that are lying in their profiles or people that are not using the app for what it's meant for. But we decided, why not take it a step further than that? So what happens if you already are somewhere with the person you match with? We call this feature Check On Me. So a user will be able to set up an emergency contact, and then Fitface can send you a notification every 15, 20, 30 minutes, making sure that everything is running smooth, and if it's not, your emergency contact will be a thumb tap away. And if the user doesn't respond within 15 minutes, that emergency contact will be notified automatically.
So we've been working on this since August of last year. We just launched a new website about a week and a half ago. We have a working prototype that will be out for beta testing the first week of October. We just added a new programmer to our team. So how can the community help? Well, we need a technical mentor, somebody that knows the tech industry from the inside and out, how it works. We need a social media specialist, somebody that knows social media and how to use it effectively. And we also need just general media exposure, whether it's blogs, articles, radio, podcast, everything and everything.
So why do you need Fitface? It is because this is the answer to getting fit and staying healthy. Thank you.
Thank you, Joe and Gabe. Where did you drive in from last night?
Peoria.
Wow, that's quite
Yeah.
a drive. Thanks for making the trip to see us.
Yeah.
We have a question today to kick it off from Austin.
All right, great presentation. I like the idea. It seems very effective. I would like to hear about your pricing, and also if you guys are trying to get professional athletes to sponsor you, whether or not you have to pay them, I think that would be a huge benefit in the long run.
Absolutely. So when it comes to the revenue streams and stuff like that, right off the bat, we will do our upgrade, which is going to be 99 cents a year, and what that includes was what I said briefly. It was the music player. That'll be a database of nutrition plans and workout playlists. And then there's also going to be the ability to send other users challenges for commitment stuff. Besides that, we will have other in-app purchases. We will basically tailor routines and nutrition plans for people specifically. You would go in and put in your information, and then it would basically go through our software and give you a personalized workout routine and nutrition plan, which we're not personal trainers nor dietitians, but we will definitely have certified people to help us along those steps. Besides that, we will also do the advertisement revenue stream to bring in some money that way. But besides that, it's only going to be 99 cents a month if you even want the upgrade. If not, you can still match make with the ad for free.
Thanks, Nick.
Yeah, I want to commend you on the social aspect of this as someone who's not fit and has a real problem. You know, when you think about, like me and my spouse, you know, it's very easy for us to go get ice cream rather than, because it's a group activity. So if you're not hanging out with people who are committed to fitness, you're probably not going to be fit, and that's just the end of it. So, but I wanted to ask, obviously an app is not much without users. What are your plans to populate this, especially since it's a matchmaking app?
Well, I guess we're trying to follow different business models. I mean, Facebook started with colleges, very specific colleges. Tinder, they went around to different colleges and did these like pre-launch parties and things like that. So we're going to start it, very locally based, and then move from one city to another, kind of following Tinder and Facebook. But instead of parties, I mean, we could do parties, but we're looking at like field day events, things like that. But getting users involved that way and just grow it from one town and through social or digital advertising and social media and things like that. So we'll have like a really live, interactive experience for people to get accustomed to Fitface, as well as they'll be finding out about it on their social medias and things like that. Do you want to add anything to that?
Yeah, so this is actually a very big obstacle when it comes to apps for matchmaking stuff. Tinder ran across this problem very early on, and they realized what they were doing wrong. There has been other apps that have tried to do what we did, but they didn't market it correctly. They tried to release the app to the whole United States all at once, and then there's not going to be a big enough population in any city for you to have like 3 matches or 5 matches or however many matches. So how we want to do it is we're only going to make it available per city, like starting out in January. That's going to be our soft launch for Peoria, Illinois, and then we'll expand from there. After we have a little bit of a crowd there, we'll expand to like cities around it, and then we'll expand to we're in Missouri all the time, so that's probably a state that we'll go to next. And then probably like 4 months down the road, once we start catching up speed, start having users, we will start traveling and actually going to like Colorado, California, Florida. Those are 3 of the biggest states that spend money on like gyms, and they have a lot of physical activity. So we are definitely going to market that and basically do like a pre-launch party like Tinder did, and just make it for everyone in that town at that time knows about it. So there's going to be a crowd for the app to actually get utilized. Other people might be able to see it, across the country, and then there's not going to be a crowd. They can still download the app. They won't be able to match with anybody, but there's still a database. You can still, like, say you're from Florida and you're traveling to, like, Illinois, you'll be able to find parks along the way, or gyms, if you want to just stop by for like a day pass or something like that. So people and elsewhere are not going to have as big of, they're not going to be able to use it for as many things, but it's still going to be available to them. So somebody is not just going to download it, see that there's no matches, and just uninstall it because it didn't work for them. There's other options as well.
Yeah, these apps are very susceptible to implosions, so we really want to be careful how we approach the market, since this is, a lot of other people have tried something similar to this and they've failed. And we've just looked at where they failed and try to succeed through that. Also, something else we were kind of talking about is targeting colleges, Greek systems, getting like one guy in a frat and one girl in a sorority as an ambassador for Fitface and kind of spreading it out. through their friends while we are hitting these different cities and targeting them, like with us actually in the cities.
I'm with Nick on the ice cream. Does it count if you walk a mile to get the ice cream and then a mile back? Does that kind of cancel each other out? Jesse, do you have a question?
I do. Hey, great idea and presentation, guys. Thank you. This sounds really awesome. My workout partners like flake out on me on the daily because we all have young children, and so that's a constant issue for me. And I love this idea. But here's where I would download your app, absolutely. So you'd get your 99 cents. But here's where I would hesitate to use it because of my own fitness level and because my partners are always flaking on me, so I'm not getting a lot more fit. If I signed up to go jogging for a 2-mile loop in the woods, which I often plan to do with my friends, usually about halfway through is where I'm kind of like, I'm gonna walk. So I would be afraid to hook up with somebody that I didn't know to go jogging, because what if they're like an Olympian and they have to drag my carcass back out of the woods, and then I feel like a jerk, right? So like, is there any kind of way to modify like other people's where they're at so that I'm working out with people who won't hate me if I can't hang, or who I won't hate if they can't hang? So that's kind of where I would get stuck.
Yeah, absolutely. Whenever you first install the app, it'll walk you through fitness information. So basically, like your basic information, like name, where you live, like zip code, blah, blah, blah. So this is your fitness information. So what types of workouts do you like? Do you like to do cardio? Do you like to weight lift? Is today arms day? Are you an intermediate, beginner, or an advanced person? And we will start with those 3, but it gets a lot more complicated than just beginner, intermediate, and advanced. But that's going to be just kind of our way to introduce this system of like rating. I just started, I used to work out 10 years ago, but I just started again. So I want to say I'm intermediate, but I'm not. I'm going to be beginner. And some people just don't want to really either accept or realize this. So there will be a way to flag that as well. But there will absolutely be a way to see, oh, this person's advanced, I am a beginner, I'm definitely not going to match with them because they'll leave me behind. So yeah, absolutely.
On one hand, you have somebody that is a really advanced cyclist and they don't want to bike with somebody that's not as good. And then on the other hand, you have somebody that's really good that wants to teach people how to be better at that. So yeah, you'll be able to specify a lot about yourself, as much as you want at least.
Great. Vincent, you had a question?
Hey guys, I'm Vince from PostNet. I really love your guys' format, and I want to say you're doing a great job, especially for your guys' age, so I want to congratulate you on that.
Thank you.
My question is about your music hosting. Are you guys actually hosting the music on a server or something like that, or are you going to be a third party for like iTunes or something like that? And how did you navigate that with all the legalities? It's a maze out there with all the copyright laws.
Right, so it's all going to be kind of like SoundCloud. If anybody knows SoundCloud, you can literally upload your own music up to it and then just listen to it. Other people can listen to it. It's going to be the same concept. You can just upload your own music to the player. And when it comes to legal issues, we're not liable when it comes to somebody illegally downloaded this song and uploaded it to our music player. We'll make it so we're not liable for them, uploading the others' music illegally, and we're not going to take credit for this our music either. This is just a platform where you can add songs to. You can take them off. You can share them with friends. Kind of like how to explain this? Like a showcase. You have like a showcase right here. This is what I have. I'm going to show you what I have. I can take it down at any time, but you can check it out. You can grab it. I'm not, like the showcase is not saying these are my things, these, that's kind of a weird explanation.
Something that we were, yes, we will be having music on our own server, so we'll be storing all that stuff ourselves, and people through the app can just pull it down onto their phone. But as far as legal issues go, we were looking into local bands in the areas, they're just starting to come up, they're not famous at all. But they need exposure, and we have a fitness network. We will have a fitness network with hopefully lots and lots of users that we can expose to their music. They'll have certain tags, just like on SoundCloud, so you can search through all these bands. But they will want. We've talked to a couple, and they want to work with us to get exposure through our fitness network, and we want to work with them so we could end up having some sort of Fitface playlist of the month or something, and then feature these local bands. So it's kind of like, you know, a give and take situation there.
All right, we have a question over here.
Yes. How do you differentiate yourself from someone who, if I wanted to find a fitness partner, I could do it very easily on Facebook. There are fan pages just for that. There are fan pages just for the city of Springfield. I can find someone right here in town because there's a fan page that sets up to do that right there on Facebook. There are people who create communities and Facebook pages. So how do you differentiate yourself from that?
So being on this on-demand economy, actually posting a comment on that Facebook page or something like that, or even Craigslist, it would take probably a few hours, a few days, if even, that you might get a partner. And right then and there, do you know if that partner is right for you? Do they like weightlifting and you like cardio? Do they like outdoors and you like going to the gym? There's so many factors that go into it. We specialize on the right type of person for you, not only because you can go to the gym with them and do the same type of workout with them then and there, but that being with that person will help you stay committed. So you will contact that person again, to go again. On top of that, sorry, I just lost my train of thought. So we differ from like a Facebook page because this is an on-the-go thing. You can get on the app, turn on your on-the-go, and it would match you with somebody right now, and you can meet with them in 15 minutes up to 2 hours. So it's on demand, it's on the go when you have time. You can also set your preferences to, say you work 5 days a week, Monday through Friday, and you have 2 hours for lunch break, which you usually like to work out. So in those 2 hours, you have them at the exact same time every day. You can go and set up that on the go to turn on for those 2 hours. So automatically, when you go on break, you don't even have to go and look for matches. People have already matched with you, and they're already asking you to work out. So right then and there, you can go to the gym, be there in 15 minutes on the go when you're ready. So, and that's just something you wouldn't be able to do on Facebook.
It's a much more tailored experience to the individual, I guess. On Facebook, you throw out whatever you want to say, but that's something that you would have to do. With the app, all that information is there, it's working for you in the background while you're doing whatever you need to do. So when it's time to go work out, you just click, meet up, and match, or match and meet up.
Okay, we have our last question right here.
Very nice presentation. I like the way that you guys handed things off. It looked like you'd rehearsed this a lot. I just have really one comment, and that is, it's a very ambitious program. You've got a lot of thought that's gone into it. I'm wondering if strategic partners might help you in each community. Like I'm thinking like YMCAs, gyms, where there's already people are already in the same place. Maybe they've seen familiar faces, they just don't have a mechanism to sort of introduce themselves. So if you get local clubs sort of advocating and promoting this, like the more strategic partners you have in each community, it seems to me the more quickly and successfully it might be adopted.
Definitely. I mean, we are looking at gyms, try to get work with them to get them to use our app on their employees, maybe get into some corporate wellness programs through different companies. We were kind of focusing on traveling salesmen. If you leave Monday, you hit 13 cities, come back on a Sunday. Well, if you want to play golf and you've never been to those cities, then you'll be able to find somebody. So being the company that salesman would work for, we would try to work a deal with them so that salesman would have all the upgrades, everything for that app so that they can use while they're traveling. So we're looking at gyms to get into their advertising with their personal trainers and their clients, things like that, and then on a corporate level. And then also Gabe mentioned the challenges, and that it can be for an individual, like I could issue him a challenge, but we can take that to a corporate level. So gyms can issue a challenge to another gym. Plus our network will be much more specialized. Anybody could search golds on Google and it'll pull up a ton of different results, but they might not have been looking for the gym. So that hit on their site is kind of a waste. So our network will be much more focused. So anybody searching Gold's Gym on our network, they are looking for the gym and nothing else. So it would be much more beneficial for gyms because we'll have a really specific network. So yeah, gyms, corporate, we're looking at all of that.
So when it comes to strategic partners, absolutely, we've thought about teaming up with gyms. Very easy way that we can do it is we can have like a little table tent with our information, download this workout app, and then have it for whenever you walk into the gym or wherever you scan your card or wherever you check in or whatever, they can have it right there for people to look at. We can be like, hey, you know, if you put this there, it will bring in traffic, it'll give you more people, maybe new people that you haven't had before. And on top of that, we could provide gyms with data that they probably don't have, like more specific information about users, people that would go to their gym specifically. And gyms are actually not that great at keeping data or like analyzing data, but except, you know, of course, like Gold's Gym or Planet Fitness, those big names. But most smaller gyms don't really keep track of data, and that's something that we could definitely influence a lot of business owners when it comes to small-time gyms.
Thank you. We always close with the question, what can we as a community do to help you?
Well, you guys can start by liking our social networks or going to our website and sign up for our beta. If you go to www.fit-face.com/beta, you can download for it, or you can sign up for it there. And yeah, check out our social networks and just, I don't know, give us some tips.
Great. Well, we hope you'll come back after you launch in January. We'd love an update on how things are going. And thanks so much for coming from Peoria, Illinois, to present to us and share it with us today.
Thanks, guys. And thanks to Adrienne as well. Great presentations. You know, I don't know about you guys. This is the best morning of the week for me. How many would feel the same way? Yeah. You know, sitting in front of the computer, writing, analyzing, talking on the phone, all that stuff we all do. And this is just a great break. You know, when we started 1 Million Cups 2.5 years ago, we said it wasn't about the numbers. But it is kind of about the numbers. It's like saying it's not about the money, but it really is about the money, right? So, you know, we appreciate everyone coming. You know, reach out to friends, coworkers, etc., because the more people we have, the better connections we make, and also we get to look at hopefully someone who wants to get up in front of the stage and present their company. So I'm going to say, if you've got someone that you run down that ends up presenting, I'll buy you lunch. And I can say that because usually when I say this in front of groups, I never have to buy anybody any lunch. So, but I'm telling you, if you come up with a company that presents, I'll buy you lunch. So have a good day. Thanks.
Well, we want to welcome Adrienne McCoy with Abacus CPAs. She presented on the Colby assessment. And Adrienne, so what did you think of 1 Million Cups?
It was so impressing how engaged the group was that I was speaking to. You don't always get a room full of people who are actually smiling at you and paying attention and nodding as you speak. So I think that was probably the most impressive thing about this group this morning. Amazing group to present to.
Well, thank you. Yeah. So can you give us a quick snippet of Colby and how this works for companies?
Sure. So the Colby system is based on the idea that even if our IQ and our personality fit an organization, that sometimes our natural instincts don't fit the actual job that we're doing. So Colby is measuring your cognitive abilities and what those natural instincts are. And then we use that in organizations to make sure that the position actually fits for that individual person with their natural abilities.
Well, thank you so much. Thank you for being a part of our educational series. So glad to have you.
Thanks for having me.
We are so glad to welcome Fitface to 1 Million Cups. They came all the way from Peoria, Illinois. We have Joe and Gabe with us. So glad to have you guys. What did you think of 1 Million Cups Springfield?
It's awesome. I mean, this is definitely a bigger crowd than we're used to, and the people here are definitely so much more willing to help than we're used to. And this has just been a really eye-opening experience to what other people can provide, you know, around the country in different places. So it's awesome.
Awesome. Great. Have any thoughts?
Great auditorium. It's pretty big. It kind of made me a little nervous, but yeah, it's awesome.
Well, you guys did a great job. So can you explain a little bit about Fitface to me?
So essentially, it is a matchmaking app that will facilitate the meetup between two people looking to work out. So our best example is racquetball. If you want to play racquetball, you can't play it by yourself. It's hard to find the time for somebody else to play, and then it's hard to find somebody to play at your level. So Fitface would allow you to find somebody at your time, on your level, you know, to play racquetball or do any other sports that you want to do.
Very cool. Any thoughts?
Yeah, it's just more of an individual, like one-on-one type of matchmaker. So it's more specialized, like if you are a weightlifter or if you like to do cardio specifically, it would match you to somebody that has those same goals rather than just somebody that works out or somebody that likes to be physically active.
Great. Well, thank you guys so much. I think you did a great job, even with the large stage and large auditorium. Thanks for joining us.